One.
Hey there! Sorry about that, guys. No volume. So Denny had to do that twice, so now we got some practice in.
Yeah, that'll be pretty good, huh?
We're gonna try one more time to show you how to splice hand sewing.
Splice hand sewing on heavy leather.
On heavy leather. Oh, so yeah, we talked about that too. This technique will not work well if you're using really light leather because you won't have room to hide that knot.
Yes.
Between the leathers.
And that's the idea. That's exactly what we're doing. We're trying to hide the knot. Now I'm going through from the backside this first time with my new thread. And here's my old thread. Now I'm going to tie an overhand knot with my new thread around the old thread. Now I hope you can all see that, but it's just a simple overhand knot. If you aren't sure what that is, go to your Boy Scout handbook. They will tell you.
Or, good old Google.
Or Google, yes, Google it. Now, I'm going to clip the end of this thread off about 1/8 of an inch long. You don't want to clip it off too short because that's what I did before. Then you want to just pull that knot to the inside of your leather and it hides it completely.
Ooh.
Right?
So now one of our sides of thread is long.
Yes. And this one. Okay. Now I'm going to go through with the other needle. I'm going to go through the front side.
We've got my little Luna in here. So if you hear some little whimpers or whines, that's my dog. She's just laying on the floor.
Okay, now I'm just going through the same way I did before. Okay, this is the other new thread. It gets kind of complicated if you aren't careful. This is the thread that I'm trying to replace. So I'm taking this new thread and tying the overhand knot around it. Pull it up as snug as you can. Clip it off.
And tug it on through. So you're going through the same hole that you just went through with your other knot.
Exactly the same hole, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Now I've got two dead ends here, and I'm just going to kind of twist those to stay out of my way. Then I'm going to go ahead a few more stitches. I'll go 2 or 3 more stitches here before I cut those off, and I'll show you how I cut those off.
So this is to prevent, I know, whenever you're ending a stitch, you just kind of go back through. But if you do that, you end up with several layers of thread in that one section, and you can see it.
Yeah, you can add on just by back stitching over 2 or 3 stitches, but this will alleviate that, and it will look like you're using the same piece of thread all the way through. You won't even notice that. Okay, now all I've done is get up a few stitches where I'm not in my own way here. But I'm going to this is a French edger, and I like it because I can get right up against the leather and just clip that off.
Well, isn't that fancy?
Yeah, I can clip that off. Now if you'll see, especially from the front side, you can't even see where I've spliced.
Yeah.
Set it right up on top of your horse there.
You can't even see where I've spliced.
Nice.
Okay, but anyway, now I'm going to show you how you can end this thread if you want to. If I was at my final stitch, rather than tie a knot in it, I'm going to go through from the back side, pull that up snug, Then I'm going to take my stitching awl, make a little slip through there. Not all the way through the leather, just a small slip. And go through there. Then I'm going to pull that up snug where the thread is actually down inside that little slit. Then I can go back through with my front thread and pull that up.
And then you only see it once.
Yeah, you don't even see where I backstitched because the one is buried down inside that cut.
Oh,
Then
that's a neat trick.
Yeah, and then you can just clip it off on the back side with your handy friend.
I can't see with your hand in the way.
There it is.
Okay. I think we mentioned last week when we were doing this, the front side of your stitches are always going to look better than your back side. Now someone was asking about stitching around a corner, and it's really no big trick. It's just like any other stitch. But I'm going to start a brand new thread here. The same way that I did my blind stitch. I'm going to start back here where I don't have to stitch a mile before I get to that corner.
It looks like you've done some good stropping on that awl. It's nice and
Yeah.
smooth and slick. It runs right through.
Yeah.
I think we did a video on that here a week or two ago, guys.
Okay, now I'm starting with this thread. It's 2 pieces, right?
That's what it looks
You
like.
just want 1 piece. There's my little overhand knot. Remember Google? Here's my little overhand knot. I always want to cut these ends off shorter than I should. It's a bad habit I've gotten myself into. But now I've got a knot on each side. I'm going to pull one to the middle, and I pull the other one to the middle. There we are. Starting off just like a brand new thread that was just 1 piece. Okay. Now I'm just going to stitch as usual around this corner. The main thing when you're using a stitching awl, a diamond point stitching awl, is to keep that blade at the same angle every time.
That way your stitch lays the same every time.
Yes. The minute you turn your awl, then you're going to end up with a stitch that's all wicker billed, whopper jawed, whatever you want to call it. What do you call it?
I don't know. Do I? Funky? The funky stitch.
Okay, we're getting to the corner here. Since I'm using this stitching horse.
Your fingers don't hurt as you push it through, Denny?
Huh?
Doesn't hurt your fingers when you push it through on the back side?
I don't push it through with the end. I don't push it through with the end of the needle. I have a hold of the needle like this, not like this.
And you make sure when you stick in your awl through that you're not shoving it through your thumb.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you might do that occasionally.
After you've done it a time or two, you start to be aware of that.
You learn.
We had another question in the last video that we did. Some people are having some problem on pushing on that backside, keeping it come out. I see you have a groove line there, but keeping that awl coming out on that.
I don't have a groove line, but I did mark
Right.
just with a pair of wing dividers. If you try and put a groove in there, it never works out very well because you can't come out right in the center of that groove. But the main thing is if you keep your elbow up at the same angle every time, you will go out at the same place every time.
When you're poking it through the backside, can you see it?
Yes, yes.
I can't see it.
If you take it easy, you can see when it's starting to poke through. If you miss your spot, you can
Exactly.
come back out. And,
Yeah, if it's not
Reset.
going to poke through where you want it to, kind of pull it back out and then wiggle it a little bit in a different direction. You can
yeah.
adjust that.
Generally, your leather will kind of bubble out there just before you poke all the way through. And you can see where it's going to come out.
Did you use a overstitcher to go around this corner?
Yes. I just push the overstitcher around, mark my stitches around just like I did on the straight run.
And so when you have your awl there and you're going around that corner, do you have the awl at the same angle side to side?
Yeah, you're perpendicular to your leather all the way around. When like that's one reason I twisted this piece of leather up, is so that I could stay at the same angle. If I didn't twist the leather, I would have to kind of contort myself, but that's possible too.
Well, and then like the awl handle that he has, is it just one flat side or two flat sides, Denny?
I just have one flat side on
One
it,
flat side.
so I can feel that.
Exactly. He knows the position that it is in his hand, and that way the blade, obviously the blade isn't moving, so it's always going to be at the same angle so that diamond is going through.
Yeah, and people always ask, what angle do you have? It really doesn't matter.
As long as you keep it the same.
As long as it's an angle. You don't want to be 90 degrees. You
Right.
don't want to be straight across your stitch line, but a little bit of an angle. Okay, now here I'm at the last stitch, so I'm going to do what I did before. Gonna cut that little slit in there.
That is just a neat little trick. But once again, you couldn't do that on thin leathers
Yeah, it's
too well.
you can, but it doesn't have quite the effect that you're looking for.
Sure. Man, on my knife sheaths, when I've got, 1/4 inch of leather there, definitely could take advantage of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
It would work perfect.
I hate it when it's too fat from the thread.
Yeah, so the first time we started, we didn't have any video, and we saw what happens if you cut it short. Can you explain, though, Denny, when you're cutting your threads and you cut the tail off a little bit short?
Oh yeah, when you tie your overhand knot, if you cut that tail a little bit short, especially on this waxed, this is nylon thread, but nylon or poly. When you cut it too short, it'll pull that knot loose, and all you can do is cry, throw up your hands, start over.
So how much back stitching do you feel is necessary?
On something like this, if I was going to backstitch it, I would go 2 back stitches.
Okay.
And that's all. But there again, it's important to use the right size thread for the hole that you have.
Sure.
If you've got a big hole in your leather and using a real small thread, you might have to actually make it work. You might have to backstitch 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
But if your thread is snug in that stitch hole, 1 or 2 at the most is plenty, because it's waxed. That's one of the purposes of the wax, is it holds where you pull it.
Right.
You pull it snug and the
wax
thread
holds.
stays there. Yeah.
How's that leaf down there?
She's tearing it up.
But anyway, I've done that. Now I'm going to trim those off. There we have it.
There it is.
Lay it down on top of there. Pull it back to you a little bit. There you are.
Look at that. That's a nice corner.
Yeah.
I know we talked about it a little bit. Maybe you can just do it right there on the horse of going back over your stitches with the overstitcher, what the point of it even.
Yeah. Ideally, you should be on a flat table. But this overstitch wheel is named this because its main purpose is to go back over these stitches, overstitch.
Look how well it rounds that.
Yeah, it rounds it. It kind of seats the thread down in there and makes it all kind of straight.
That looks good.
Yeah, tilt it to me here, Denny. Oh, go ahead, do that other one.
Yeah, and you can do the same thing around this corner. Kind of hard to do on top of this stitching horse, but
Hold it this way towards me. There you are.
that makes it look pretty good.
Yeah, let's see that straight
Evens it
area
up.
that you did. Yeah, turn it. There you go. Turn it towards me. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a subtle difference, but like compared to just before, whenever it wasn't overstitched, like it really kind of rounds that stitch instead of it laying flat.
Right, and if you happen to get off a little bit with your awl on the angle here and there, it will help straighten that back out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Every tool has its just little purpose to make things just look that much more finished.
That's
so,
Tina was having a little bit of issue. Her hands were getting tired or sore for the next few days. You think maybe her awl might be too small? She's having trouble getting the thread through, or
Yeah, I talked about this last time. If you're having that much trouble getting your thread, your needle and thread through the hole, you probably aren't using a big enough awl, or you're using too big a needle.
Yeah.
You know.
Your thread is too large, something's.
Another thing, I don't have it with me today, but if you get a little cake of beeswax, and if you rub your fingers with that beeswax, it'll make them sticky. We also sell some little rubber tabs that you can grab your needle with that'll help. But I like that beeswax because you don't have to hold on to anything extra.
You already got so many things in your hand. A lot of times it's difficult. I always have a little pair of pliers. If I get something that's real tight and I've got my pliers there, I can grab them and pull it through if I need to. But
And more than anything, where my hands get sore are around my fingers when I'm pulling my stitches snug.
right.
If you can just think about doing it in a little different spot on your fingers every time.
Moving something around.
I remember when I made that guitar case, there was like 2,500 stitches in that thing.
I know, you were hand sewing for days.
Yeah, and I had to tape my fingers because I ran out of spots. But yeah, there's all sorts of little tricks. But the most trick, if you're having trouble with your needles, your thread is too big or your hole is too small.
yeah, one or
The other. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of a quick overview of that we forgot how to do in the last video.
Yeah.
I don't know what do we have planned. Does anybody know what we have planned for Friday? Oh, it's on there.
I think Clayton.
You and Clayton are doing a double.
Yeah, Clayton will be with me on Friday, and he's going to be making the duffel bag. Right? Yeah, the duffel bag. Yeah, which I'm super excited about because that is my pattern from like 6 years ago. I was wanting to make a duffel bag for my husband to keep all of his gym equipment in whenever we went places, and I was like, oh, how can I not cut things out and make it a little bit easier for myself and kind of make this tote? And so I made this duffel bag, and I've been hounding Clayton for years and years to do a pattern, and we finally got it made, and I think we're working on a kit as well. And so he'll be here with you on Friday, and we're gonna make a duffel bag.
It's a really cool little bag
I
too.
think it's pretty neat. I'm so excited. Finally, 10 years later.
All right, I didn't get an answer on the book yet from Rusty. He's been in a meeting.
Oh,
He's been in meetings.
We've been busy today.
He ducks when we ask him questions.
Keep an eye out on social media, Facebook, Instagram. We'll let you know if we give one away.
Okay, awesome. Well, guys, we'll see you later.